So, Eric was just discussing the amount of people who are going in and buying houses, and there's pre-inspections and things may be right or they may not be perfect. People are starting to buy houses that aren't perfect, but of course they want them to be as close to perfect, maybe before they move in or as soon as possible. From a construction and design standpoint, where do you see, or where has your role fit into that more than maybe it has in the past?
I think what we're seeing a lot is homeowners coming in and saying, okay, these are kind of some of the, usually after the inspection, I should say, and these are some of the issues that came up, and what's it going to be to kind of repair the cost? Like Eric was talking earlier about sewer line break. We've had a couple of those recently where the inspector came out, and usually their cameras aren't big enough to maybe sometimes get past some blockages. So it's going through the homeowner's mind. It's like, oh God, how bad could this be, and how potentially expensive can it be? Some of the sewer contractors that we work with have smaller cameras, so they're able to sometimes get through those blockages and really examine. So we're doing a little bit more after the inspection and really helping the homeowners understand, I guess, either the problems or the not so big problems.
Right, or maybe just determining if they are big or small.
Right.
Do you tend to, when you see people going through to find out maybe what needs to be fixed or improved, are there any big sticking points that you see that are terrorizing people?
Well,
terrorizing might be a strong word.
Well, I think terrorizing actually is a good word, though, because and maybe Eric and Ramona can kind of relate to after the inspection. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, there's all these problems with the house, and whereas I'm able to come in and maybe help ease some of those concerns for the homeowner as they're looking through the inspection and maybe helping them understand, okay, these issues really aren't that. It's not that big of an issue, and sometimes the inspection report can kind of almost seem overwhelming.
Well, yeah, I mean, they could be 30 pages long.
Right, and they call out everything.
Yeah,
because that's what they need to do.
That's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's what they're supposed to do. So if somebody finds a house and maybe it isn't perfect, or if they want to make improvements, what does that time frame look like? Because you had mentioned before we actually came on the air that you're going into houses before people even close. You're starting to put together maybe some type of plan for the day they close to start making changes.
Right. For us, it's good that we're not like super busy right now, because it could be the turnaround. The idea is to get it within a couple days so that the homeowners can make decisions on moving forward. So ideally, we're going in and giving them some sort of a budget, whether they want to put a laundry room in a certain place or, kind of do something with the kitchen or bathroom, and helping them understand, okay, it's a few $1,000s to do this and a little bit more to do that.
And so fitting into those budget requirements, I mean, if you're thinking about buying a new house, now you have your down payment, you have closing costs, you have new furniture, and now you want to do these fixes. And these fixes now have to fit into that budget as well.
Yeah, exactly. And some of them, maybe they're not, maybe they're for helping homeowners plan for the future and creating their budget for the next year, or maybe some of them are almost immediate fixes that should be done. Maybe something gets called out on the inspection report that relates to the exterior envelope of the building, where there's some rot or something along those lines.
Well, when you start talking about budget, a lot of people, when they buy houses, are looking at maybe how efficient a home is, how well it's going to keep in heat or keep out heat. And some of the older homes that people are buying in the city maybe have different styles of insulation or different amounts of insulation that would be done now. Do you tend to find that a lot of people are concerned about maybe, how well a house is insulated or anything like that?
I think so. The government has kind of pushed home energy efficiency recently, and so there's some incentives out there, whether it's through the utility or through some other programs that are available through the cities to get cash back, essentially, to help reduce the cost of putting insulation in the homes. Sometimes homes already have it. Maybe it's not up to standards that it really should be.
Yeah. Is insulation? When I think of insulation, I literally think of like the Pink Panther commercials, right?
Right.
Is
Yeah.
it different than-
Fiberglass insulation.
Yeah, is
right?
it different than that now?
Oh, totally different. There's been huge.
Pink Panther's out.
Huge. Well, no, Pink Panther's still around, and it's still
okay.
pink. Actually, the pink color comes from some of the additives in the insulation, and they put a dye in it, and that's what creates it. But
Which came first, the commercial of the insulation? I guess that's for another day.
You lost me.
The pink. Did they add it to make the color pink so they could have a Pink Panther?
Oh, got it.
Or did they really like Pink Panther so they made the insulation pink?
Right. Okay, Ben.
Nonetheless, so what does insulation look like now? I mean, where should people be looking for it? I mean, how does that fit into some of these equations of buying a house or making sure that it is efficient?
Yeah, maybe understanding why insulation is important. I was standing in my bathroom window looking at some of the homes this morning as I was brushing my teeth, right, looking at my neighbors' homes, and you can see on the exterior of the homes. When it's like a cold, frosty day, you'll see sometimes you get that frost on the outside envelope of the house, and you can see actually where the studs are in the walls, and that's where kind of the frost is starting to melt first. So those are the areas of the home that have less insulation in the walls. So what happens is each material has what we call an R value, and that's basically measures thermal resistance of the material. And so how the idea with insulation is that we're keeping heat in the interior of the home during the winter and cold and conditioned air in the summertime, and then keeping the cold air out of the house in the winter and the heat out during the summer. So it's working.
It works both ways.
It works both ways, exactly.
And so have these R values gone up as insulation has gotten better from the Pink Panther days?
In some instances, a lot of the way that we can help improve the efficiency too is just reducing air movement in the walls. But you were asking earlier about different types of materials that are available, and we think of fiberglass insulation because that was kind of the first step. Although in a lot of older homes that we'll dig into the walls, we find newspaper stuffed in the walls, and they were actually using that as insulation at the time, which is really interesting now because we're using what we call cellulose, which is ground up newspaper, as a blow-in material, whether it be in an attic or in a wall. It works really well.
That's like legitimate, just ground up newspaper?
It's like ground up newspaper. It's totally renewable. It's recyclable. It's a great product.
Huh. Interesting.
We're also finding there's also wool insulation. So they have
sounds much more expensive than ground-up newspapers.
They have farms for creating actual insulation. So there's a company, say in Montana right now, and they have all these sheep, and they're herding specifically to make bat insulation. And so bat being the rolled insulation that you would roll out, and cut, and put in a wall. So it's pretty cool. Some of the materials that are being used now. They're using recycled Coke bottles, water bottles to create different types of insulation products as well. And most of them are pretty comparable as far as we were talking earlier about the R value. And so R value of fiberglass versus some of these other products is pretty comparable. So you're not losing anything, and in some cases it's actually a better material.
I would imagine as you get into some of these more recyclable materials, such as a new way to reuse newspaper clippings,
right?
You end up putting yourself in a position that, well, the house is greener simply because of the materials that's being made, and it's greener because it's insulating well. Yeah,
and you think about blue jeans too. That's another material that's being used. Whether
the old crumpled up ones, or do they shred them?
Shredded. Piece of denim that's off the floor of the manufacturing plant, or recycled. Somebody wears them out.
Just like the byproduct that they're now selling that's interesting.
Yeah, and the great thing about a lot of these products is they're great for homeowners who are kind of do-it-yourself, because with I don't know if you've ever used fiberglass insulation, but it can be really itchy when you cut it and they're playing with it, and you're just messing with these products.
Sure.
There's no itch factor.
Other than the wool. Wool's itchy, man.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess so.
But it's very cool to see the different products that are being brought in, because I mean, fiberglass is not exactly the cleanest material. You know, the everything that comes through fiberglass, I mean, I would think, right?
It's better. It depends on the manufacturer,
Yeah.
and the processes that they're using to make the product.